Hi there, welcome back to MillCreekChurch, the place where you belong. We are so thankful that you came out and chose to worship with us. We're currently doing our Wednesday night word of encouragement. If you'd like to find out more information about MillCreekChurch, you can visit us on the web at millcreekbaptist.online or join our Facebook group that you will see displayed on the screen. And if you would like to know more about MillCreekChurch, please feel free to fill out our Connect Plus card that will be linked in the description below, and someone from our church will be reaching out to you shortly. Today's reading comes from Philippians chapter 2, verses 14 through 18. Do all things without grumbling or disputing, so that you will prove yourselves to be blameless and innocent, children of God above reproach in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you appear as lights in the world, holding fast the word of life, so that in the day of Christ I will have reason to glory, because I did not run in vain nor toil in vain. But even if I am being poured out as a drink offering upon the sacrifice and service of your faith, I rejoice and share my joy with you all. You too, I urge you, rejoice in the same way and share your joy with me. What's the relationship between your joy and a godly lifestyle? I think the Bible makes it clear that true, unadulterated, overwhelming, heartfelt joy is directly related to godly living. Now, if you read that statement and immediately think of Job as an example of how that cannot possibly be the case, hear me out. I'm not suggesting that a life lived in a godly way prohibits maladies or mishaps from occurring. Rather, I'm suggesting that in those maladies and mishaps, if your attention turns to the Lord, you will find joy in Him, even if the circumstances would otherwise be joy-depriving. And I take that directly from what some theologians and scholars call the epistle of joy, namely Philippians. The joy of the believer is a major theme in this epistle. Paul was enamored with the faithfulness of the church at Philippi, and they were enamored with Paul. When the church heard the news that Paul had been imprisoned for preaching and teaching the good news of Jesus Christ, they were deeply concerned for his well-being. Paul writes from prison to alleviate those fears and to encourage them to find peace in the object of their joy, Jesus. He speaks of his time in prison as a drink offering and calls the church to rejoice as he is rejoicing. Paul was a Jew of the Jews, and so many of his illustrations come from that background. Here, he uses the idea of a drink offering which was poured out alongside the more normative offering, such as the sacrifice of a bull, goat, dove, etc. The animal was the greater sacrifice. Drawing from that same example, Paul says that his time in prison is only the drink offering compared to their more prominent offering of faith and their well-being. In Paul's mind, to suffer for the sake of Christ brought him joy, and he wanted the Philippians to understand that perspective and rejoice with him. Joy is not about circumstances, it is about Jesus. And because of that, joy does not operate in a vacuum. It is directly related to godly living. Christ is the source, and submission to Him through godly living is the means. Paul knew the joy of the Lord because he knew and followed the will of God. As you look around the world today, the scarcity of joy makes it all the more important for Christians to understand God's will, manifest those characteristics, and in so doing, let their light so shine so that others may see and glorify God. Our lifestyle choices carry more weight than our own joy, for they have the potential to spread the joy of Christ like wildfire. The more you implore godly character through godly living, the more will you find joy inexpressible and full of glory. Do you operate in a continuum of joy? Or do you find that your circumstances often determine your level of contentment? How can you go from a place of life just happens to me to a place of let's make life happen for myself and for others?